Hello, I'm Anne Marie Howard, and welcome to the Dennis Kucinich for President Weekly Update on Monday, November 12th. This is a special edition episode of our weekly reports to keep you informed on Dennis's race to the presidency. In honor of yesterday having been Veterans Day, we'd like to say a very heartfelt thank you to our servicemen and women stationed here and at the 750 U.S. military bases around the world. It's been a busy week on the campaign trail and in the nation's capital for Congressman Kucinich. The big story in Washington, impeachment. The big story on the campaign, Dennis wins 41 out of 50 states in an important nationwide poll. As we've reported, this past April, Congressman Kucinich introduced House Resolution 333, Articles of Impeachment against Vice President Cheney. Even beyond what we predicted on this show, the sparks really flew on the House floor Tuesday as Republican and Democratic leadership waffled back and forth on their tactics to stymie the move towards impeachment. Republicans initially attempted to block the call to debate impeachment on the House floor, only to abruptly reverse tactics in a reaction to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's move to table the motion. Dennis made good on his pledge to bring this issue before the House. The bill is now in its next stage before the Judiciary Committee. Further momentous news of the week involves the nationwide Presidential Pulse poll of more than 150,000 people, sponsored by Democracy for America. Participants were asked if the presidential election were held today, who they would vote for. The answer was an overwhelming thumbs up for Dennis. He won with a 2-to-1 margin over the second highest declared candidate, John Edwards. Not only that, but Dennis was the top vote getter in 41 of the 50 states, including the early voting states, Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada, and the battleground states of California, Florida, and Ohio. DFA has sent messages directly to its 650,000 members in those 41 states, encouraging them to support Dennis in the upcoming primaries and caucuses. It was a big boost for the campaign and for the candidate, who's been climbing steadily on many national and statewide polls over the past several weeks. For a more detailed report, log on to DennisForPresident.com. That's Dennis, the number 4, President.com. Congressman Kucinich met with homeless American veterans Saturday in Manchester, New Hampshire. There he discussed issues of importance to the veterans, listening to their calls for action and claims that they've been abandoned by the current system at the Veterans Administration. A new study shows that nearly 500,000 U.S. veterans were homeless for at least part of last year. The National Alliance to End Homelessness says that close to 200,000 veterans are homeless across America on any given night. According to the Department of Veterans Affairs, the U.S. government provides only 15,000 shelter beds for homeless vets nationally. Community-based organizations provide an additional 8,000 beds. Combined, the two systems provide for only about 10% of the needed shelter. As a congressman, Dennis Kucinich has consistently battled for better health care and more support services for this nation's veterans. He championed an amendment to the 2006 Defense Appropriations Bill to provide $10 million for research on Gulf War illness and has been a stalwart supporter for refining and reinforcing the government's programs to benefit veterans. This past weekend held a full schedule for candidate Kucinich as he traversed New England, speaking to an overflow crowd at a rock concert, hosting 2 town hall meetings, opening up his second New Hampshire campaign office, and for a break, attending a hockey game. Friday evening, Dennis was the featured guest of Ani DeFranco for her concert at the famed Orpheum Theater in Boston, Massachusetts. Dennis spoke on stage for nearly 10 minutes to the wildly receptive crowd that thanked him with an extended standing ovation. Let's go to a report from Boston.
Hey there, it's Dennis Fleetwood here at the Orpheum Theater in Boston, reporting for the Dennis Kucinich campaign. The next president of the United States, Dennis Kucinich!
We can change this election. We can change the direction of America. We can move away from war. We can move towards peace and integrity in government and sustainability because it's all connected. Thank you very much, Boston.
That one of my favorite things about Mr. Dennis Kucinich is that he's so incredibly electable. all hunch their shoulders, hold their collars over their ears and run by.
Dennis was excited to be at a ribbon-cutting ceremony held at the campaign's newest field office in Manchester, New Hampshire Saturday. While in New Hampshire, the congressman was the featured speaker at town hall meetings in Manchester and Concord, where he shared his plans for addressing local as well as national issues once elected president. After a full day, he went to a hockey game between the Lowell Devils and the Manchester Monarchs. Sunday, Dennis appeared at 3 events in Asheville, North Carolina, and today he'll be in Dubuque, Iowa, speaking at a meeting of the United Auto Workers, and later on, making a presentation on Middle East issues in Cedar Rapids. This past Friday morning, Dennis appeared live on the news show Democracy Now!, where he was interviewed by hosts Amy Goodman and Juan Gonzalez. Dennis was asked about his push for impeachment of Dick Cheney on the House floor.
We welcome you to Democracy Now!, Congressman Kucinich.
Good morning.
Explain exactly what you did this week.
The articles of impeachment that were introduced under a privileged resolution cite the vice president's persistent lies relating to Iraq. He claimed that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction that necessitated a U.S. response. He claimed that Iraq somehow was connected to al-Qaeda's role in 9/11. He has been beating the drums for war against Iran.
The congressman was also asked for his position on FCC Chairman Kevin Martin's push to fast-track media consolidation.
When we realized the concentration of wealth in our society has accelerated wealth to the top, the concentration of information in our society and control over information accelerates the intellectual wealth of the country and the First Amendment rights of the country into the hands of fewer and fewer. A.J. Lieberman years ago famously said, freedom of the press belongs to the man who owns one. Well, when you're talking about electronic broadcast media, the people own the airwaves. I mean, that is the fundamental understanding that the American people should have.
The show also featured an interview with historian and renowned activist Howard Zinn, who expressed his support for Congressman Kucinich and his motions for the impeachment of the vice president and eventually George W. Bush as well. To watch the show in its entirety or read transcripts of the interview, go to democracynow.org. Also in the progressive media, author, playwright, and political critic Gore Vidal has contributed an article to The Nation magazine in support of Dennis, where he cites the congressman as being the most eloquent Democratic candidate of this race, and that he is very much a favorite of audiences that he's spoken to around the country. The Kucinich campaign update is proud to announce an addition to our team. You may have recognized our new field correspondent as famed YouTube video blogger Davis Fleetwood. Davis brings with him an informed perspective and his own flavor for delivering it. Welcome to the team, Davis. Now a message from Campaign Update team member Dutch Merrick.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. Look, we got props now. I want to take a moment to thank you all for your support and suggestions for our show. We want to invite you to submit your videos for the campaign to our Dennis Kucinich for President YouTube homepage, accessible by going to DennisForPresident.com. That's Dennis, the number 4, President.com, and clicking the YouTube link at the top of the page. We're looking forward to featuring your footage on our show. You can get signs, buttons, and the works at the webpage too.
As we promised, today we'll have our first segment on Who's Who in the campaign team. Our featured person is Mike Klein, the National Campaign Manager. Mike is an organizational master. A second-generation military man, he retired from the Army Reserves with the rank of captain. Mike had an admirable Army career. After graduating from West Point, he went on to serve as an officer with the Airborne Army Rangers during Operation Desert Storm in Kuwait and Saudi Arabia.
Hi, Anne-Marie. Mike Klein here. It's a pleasure to be on the show. I wanted to let you know that I support Dennis Kucinich because of the man's integrity and because he knows that the Iraq War was fought for all the wrong reasons, and he's absolutely crystal clear about the fact that neoconservative foreign policy makes us less safe. Also wanted to tell you that a little bit of myself personally. Got a lovely wife, family, daughter, son, and it's a pleasure being your campaign manager. Take care.
Thank you for watching this week's Dennis Kucinich Presidential Campaign Update. For up-to-the-minute campaign information, log on to DennisForPresident.com. That's Dennis, the number 4, President.com. We close today's show with footage sent to us from Brooklyn, New York by volunteer Thomas Gallagher.
Kucinich!